Mississippi State Auditor recently released a report finding DeSoto County Crime Stoppers spent $400,000 in taxpayer money over the past 10 years without providing any evidence it ever gave a tip to law enforcement or awarded any tipsters. Joining us now to talk more about that report along with his priorities for Mississippi's legislative session next year is the man himself. Please welcome Mississippi State Auditor Shad White. Shad, welcome to 3 at 3. Glad to have you here in Memphis today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to go down your list of legislative priorities for 2026. You're going to really focus on cracking down on illegal immigration, reducing government waste, and strengthening ethics laws. Let's also go back, though, to that focus on DeSoto County Crime Stoppers and the report that you really looked into. What do you find so alarming about that, if those allegations are true?
Well, what we found alarming was that folks in DeSoto County and in Memphis in general really care a lot about public safety. It's a huge issue up here anytime I come up to this area. And so they're counting on institutions like Crime Stoppers to be able to elicit information from the public and then give that over to police. What we found is that institution was not functioning particularly well, but was spending taxpayer money. And so whenever you see that, one, we produce an audit and we show the public how their money's being spent. And two, we hope that changes are made.
When it comes to accountability, what are you looking for there? Not only looking at DeSoto County Crime Stoppers, but other organizations also to make sure taxpayer dollars are not being wasted.
Yep. In this particular instance, you know, a lot of the taxpayer dollars that got to Crime Stoppers came from local government entities. And so what we hope is that those local governments, cities, the county, they'll take a second look and say, hey, should we be sending money to Crime Stoppers? If the answer is no, if they're not getting a return on that investment, then can we use that money to buy a new police patrol car, or hire new police officers? In general, when we think about, you know, the ecosystem of Crime Stoppers all around Mississippi, some of those organizations are actually monitored pretty closely by Mississippi's Department of Public Safety. So there's less of a concern with them, but some of them operate pretty independently, and that's when you need an independent auditor to come in and look at them.
Let's move on, talking about another priority when it comes to the issue of illegal immigration and cracking down on the concerns there. What are you seeing in the state of Mississippi when it comes to that?
We did a big audit, Alex, and we found that in any given year, about $100 million of Mississippi taxpayer funds go to benefit illegal immigrants in some kind of way. Those are primarily education programs, health programs, the cost of criminal justice programs when an illegal immigrant is arrested. And so we know that that money would be better spent on teacher salaries, cop salaries, roads and bridges, tax cuts, the things that make Mississippians' lives better. And so how do you crack down on illegal immigration in Mississippi? Well, it's primarily the job of the federal government, but we can assist them by putting into place policies that make their job a little bit easier. And so that's what these bills would do.
Do you want to see more partnerships with local police, kind of teaming up perhaps with ICE? Because obviously some organizations that support a number of immigrants in the state of Mississippi say, hold on just for a second, we want to make sure that there is no type of profiling or anything like that. How do you find that balance?
I think the ideal way to find the balance is you give your state and local law enforcement the authority to enforce the laws against illegal immigration, not legal immigration, but illegal immigration. And then when you enter into those partnerships with ICE, ICE typically provides free training for your state and local law enforcement. So you prevent those kinds of profiling issues that might come about. Really, the goal here of the ideas we put forward is to get more resources to law enforcement. We actually proposed charging a fee on remittances. So those are payments going from Mississippi to other foreign countries and taking the money from that remittance fee, using it on an illegal immigration fund that could then be used to train local law enforcement and put a stop to some of this.
You're also putting a big focus on the Whistleblower Reward Act. How can that play out, and how can that help perhaps the average taxpayer in Mississippi?
One of the frustrating things in our job in the state auditor's office, Alex, is we'll start an investigation and we'll see some stuff that looks really bad, but in order to fully prove the investigation, we need a whistleblower. We need somebody with courage who will come up and they'll say, hey, I have info about this, I'll tell you about it. Sometimes we don't get that. And so in order to encourage those people to come forward with information, we're proposing this Whistleblower Reward Act. And the idea is pretty simple. We actually stole it from a federal law. The idea is if you come forward and you tell us about corruption in Mississippi and your tip leads to a recovery of taxpayer funds, you're eligible to receive 15% of what we recover. I think it's an important idea because it will encourage more information to be brought out into the light for law enforcement, help us make more cases, and eventually we recover more money for the taxpayer.
One last thing very quickly here, the 2027 governor's race. What about it? Mr. White, are you going to put your focus there? What are we hearing? What do you want to do?
Good question. I've made it no secret I'm seriously thinking about running for governor of Mississippi, and part of the reason is I get frustrated seeing all of this waste in state government. I get frustrated seeing some of our politicians who seem to only operate in a way that benefits powerful people, and they don't think about what normal people's lives are like. They're not willing to challenge powerful people if they're doing things that waste taxpayer money, and so somebody's going to have to step up and put a stop to that.
Do you see yourself as being a Trump candidate, so to speak, especially in light of the economy? Some people have questions about that. Some people say, hey, we're coming out of this government shutdown. Of course, issues with SNAP benefits being put on hold. How do you look at all that?
I'm a huge supporter of President Trump. I think he's doing an incredible job. I think our economy is going to steadily improve over the course of the next 2 years. I support his priorities of cracking down on illegal immigration and cutting down on government waste. And I would take those same kinds of ideas and apply them to the state level here in Mississippi.
All right, Shad White, glad to have you here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Thank you.